Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the El Cajon City Council meeting. The meeting is called to order, and I'd like to ask our city clerk to please call the roll.
All council members are present.
All right, would you all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief moment of silence afterwards? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The city clerk posted orders of adjournment of the May 28th, 2024 meeting and the agenda of the June 11th, 2024 meeting in accordance with state law, City Council, and Housing Authority policy. Before we continue with the meeting, I'd like to invite our community to attend one of our 4 town halls that the city is hosting to discuss Proposition J and its impacts on the city budget. As the sales tax measure nears its expiration, your input is crucial. Let's come together to explore the impact, consider options, and shape a path forward. The first town hall will be this Thursday at the Bostonia Recreation Center from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m. Flyers are available in the council chamber for the complete list of dates, times, and locations, and this information can also be found on our city's website. We have 2 presentations on today's agenda. The first presentation is for The Wall That Heals. I'd like to invite Parks and Recreation Deputy Director Adam Tronick to share with us about this. Adam, nice to see you again.
Good to see you. Thank you for having me today. Well, good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, and staff. Thank you so much for the opportunity to tell you about the experience we had at The Wall That Heals. On Tuesday, March 19th, the wall hauler arrived and was escorted through El Cajon. There were 93 motorcycles and 14 vehicles escorting the hauler. This consisted of first responders and volunteers. Boy Scout Troop 362 put out the American flags on Main Street in support of this event, and city staff, along with the community, cheered the arrival. When assembled, the wall is 328 feet long and 85 feet deep. Each wing is 185 feet long connecting to the apex. And if you look at the lower right-hand photo, that is the last piece of the wall going in, being installed, and that is the apex of the wall at its height. Our team built this in 7 hours. Very proud of that. As you can see in the other photo, there are 2 officers that are carrying a piece of the wall to install. I'd like to thank the El Cajon Police Department for their support throughout the event. From the minute the wall arrived until it was packed up and moving on to the next location, the police department provided safety and security to the wall and the community, and we are grateful. A few statistics to share about how our community supported this great event. During the meetings with the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund prior to the event, the Wall El Cajon Committee was told that to expect about 7,000 visitors. They estimated that we had over 10,000. Of the 4 locations that the wall visited in the state of California, we had the most attended and supported event. This is the 3rd time that the wall has been in San Diego County. Again, this is the most attended and supported event. And you can see behind me there are several people with volunteer shirts on. This wouldn't have happened without those incredible volunteers. The wall was open to the public for 100 hours, and there were 201 volunteer slots to fill. This did not include the build day volunteers or the takedown volunteers. Every single slot was filled, including the overnight slots. On Saturday, March 23rd, we got a surprise visit from Medal of Honor recipient John Baca. He was so gracious with his time and spent several hours with veterans and their families telling stories. And if I could refer you to the photos on the lower left, our own finance department, Autumn Rehberger, who was also a very active volunteer, is there with Mr. Baca. And on the right-hand side, Deputy Mayor Ortiz with his family is with Mr. Baca. And again, he was just so gracious. It was a really incredible experience to get to meet him. That evening, we had a candlelight vigil, and it was held in memory of the 400 Vietnam veterans from California that had passed away in the last year. All names were read at this ceremony to honor them. Despite the continued weather concerns that we had, several hundred people showed up for the closing ceremonies. And with that inclement weather, we were really concerned that not enough people would show up to help take the wall down. But again, our community supported. We had over 50 volunteers contribute to what the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund staff called one of the smoothest takedowns ever. Excuse me. And there are so many people to thank. As you can see in the photos here, I have some of our Public Works Department, and then our Heartland Fire was out there supporting at the ceremonies in different times. And that picture is the picture of the Apex with the staff is the build team, and that is one of the Veterans Coalition members that also is licensed to fly a drone, and he took those pictures. So there were just so many people to thank for this great event. The support of our mayor and our council members and all of our city staffs and all of the departments was invaluable. But this would never have happened if it wasn't for the Wall El Cajon Committee and the vision and leadership of Jeff Mueller, and I'd like to call him up now.
Thank you, Adam. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I can't possibly express how grateful I am to all of you for not just helping out, but how smoothly everything went. Everybody hears about the horror stories about getting anything done through government, and this was astonishing to me. Just how easily this was supported, how well this was supported. The community just came out in droves. I was concerned leading up to it with the kind of the lack of media coverage that we had coming up, that are leading up to the beginning of the event, that we wouldn't be very well attended. And historically, apparently, San Diego events had not been very well attended for VVMF. And starting with the day that the haulers showed up, the cameras were there, the TV crews were there, and word of mouth just spread. And I was just so grateful for everybody's input. I was so grateful for everybody's time that they spent into putting into this, specifically all the red shirts you see out here, and there were over 200 of them. A lot of people did multiple shifts, and this was a 24-hour thing. We had shifts from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. They may not have seen visitors that showed up, but we had volunteers there in case they were there. And that was important because a lot of these Vietnam veterans prefer to show up when it's quieter, when there's not as many people there. And that's when they like to be there to reflect. We want to make sure that they were supported, and they absolutely were. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. City Council, thank you very, very much for being part of this. El Cajon PD was absolutely amazing. They just epitomized what law enforcement should be, and I'm so grateful for that. El Cajon firefighters, all of our sponsors, Albertsons, our title sponsor, they were from the very beginning, they were on with us, and that was outstanding. PSSI, Rice City Church, Dixie Line, El Cajon, and ultimately all our volunteers. The volunteers are the one that made this happen. You know, I put a group of guys together. Those guys and ladies put together a bunch of volunteers, and the volunteers all made it happen. So just because I sparked it, everybody else is the one that made this thing happen. So some lasting effects that I've seen. My mom actually told me she wore her volunteer shirt to Dixie Line El Cajon, and one of the checkers there was, "Oh, I was there. That was one of the most amazing things I've ever been." And that was a common theme that I heard through city staff, through volunteers, was that this was one of the most fulfilling opportunities of volunteerism that they've been able to be a part of. So again, so grateful for all of you and for all of everybody that was part of that. I've heard of friends that were discovering other friends and family that served in Vietnam that they formerly did not even know had served in Vietnam. I personally had the opportunity to spend some time with my former father-in-law, who I told his story at our opening ceremonies. I've had breakfast with him a couple other times and gotten a lot more stories from him, and he's not in great health. So unfortunately, he doesn't have that much time left, and so I'm very grateful for every bit of time that I'm able to have with him. The remaining, my one remaining responsibility is to find a location that is capable of curating and possibly displaying the items that were left at the base of the wall that heals. I've reached out to a couple different organizations. I've reached out to Supervisor Anderson's office, who's helping me trying to find somebody as well. But if anybody has a lead or any kind of an idea of where that might be able to happen, then they can reach me at thewallelcajon@gmail.com. And I also have a list also of all of the items that were left there. There were some envelopes that were left there. If you were there and you saw that, I spoke to VVMF and they said that it is appropriate for you to open those and read those. And I did an accounting of those, and I do have a full accounting of that written out if any of you would like that. And finally, I think I'm just, again, this is kind of off the cuff, so I appreciate your time. Thank you again so much for all of your support, and I did put together a little slideshow. Thank you again. I will be posting this video. If anybody would like to see that again, I'll have it on the wallelcajon.com as well as our Facebook page, and I'm available for any questions as well.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Let me see. I'm sure that some of the council members have questions for you. Yep. Start with Michelle.
Jeff, thank you so much for being here today. It was an honor and a pleasure to have been there every day. Seeing it, the comments that I've seen from the community was that it was one of the most beautiful and moving experiences that they had had. And so it was really a great event. It was a community uniter, and I'm hoping that we can bring it to El Cajon again. Thank you again, and to all the volunteers.
Jeff, thank you again. I said this during the opening for your leadership and your vision of bringing this to East County, our city. I appreciate your committee that you brought together, and then bringing in all the volunteers, everybody with a red shirt. Even if you volunteered without a red shirt, we're still recognizing you.
Absolutely.
Adam, great work. I know you were 24 hours a day. It seemed like you were working to set this thing up, so I appreciate the extra effort there, and hopefully this brought a measure of healing to some veterans, and closure, education. I know my kids got an education, meeting a Medal of Honor awardee. That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Meeting some veterans from Vietnam. We have some in the crowd. We thank you for your service, and pass on that heritage, our American heritage of honoring our veterans and honoring their sacrifice and making sure it moves on to the next generation. And we appreciate everyone's service here.
Jeff, thanks for just a great effort over many, many months. It's been said that no one is forgotten as long as you say their name and tell their story. Indeed, you did post a lot of names and tell a lot of stories. So thank you to the volunteers as well. How much space do you need for the artifacts that you have, and how long would you like that to be curated?
It will indefinitely, honestly, is when it needs to be curated for. Right now, it's at all the stuff is at my house, and it's in a tub that's probably 18 inches wide by 12 inches. We only need a small cabinet space to be able to. A lot of the stuff that was left was stuff that was unfortunately damaged by the rain, so I didn't keep the stuff that was so damaged that you couldn't read it. But you saw the shadow box that was there with a couple of hats from Ed Frank Jr. and Sr. And a couple other items that it really wouldn't take a whole lot of space. And I can share with anyone that any organization, I can kind of give you a better accounting of how much space.
That's good, thanks.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you so much for all your hard work in organizing this.
Yes, sir.
And I was in high school during the height of the Vietnam War, and I saw the sacrifices that our veterans made. And I really appreciate you reminding everyone of those sacrifices. And I hope that heals a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeff, thank you very much. I think our city manager, Graham Mitchell, did you have anything to say about this? Could you help us try to figure out an appropriate place to?
Yeah, there's a lot of value of the curated items not being in a city facility because it's such a part of the community, and if there's places where it would be seen more readily, I'd love it there. However, I think worst case scenario, I think our lobby, we could probably accommodate a space in our lobby, and we do have a lot of visitors that come here, and if that would draw more people to City Hall, I think we could accommodate that.
If you could just come back to us with some suggestions, I'd appreciate that. Mm-hmm. We'll look into that. I want to just say thank you to everybody who's involved. I think what made this really so special was I could tell how special it was to each and every one of you. It was meaningful to the community, and I think if your goal was to acknowledge the people that served and acknowledge the sacrifices, job well done. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, President.
All right, now we have a presentation about the Tyler Excellence Award. I'd like to invite our Director of IT, Sarah Diaz, to come and tell us about this. Hi, Sarah.
Mayor and Council, I come with amazing news. Out of the thousands of clients for Tyler Technologies, El Cajon was one of 4 selected for a Tyler Excellence Award. We'll go through what that award is and what it means. But we were selected for our work with the My El Cajon app and specifically the Pothole Challenge. So for those of you not familiar, I know the dais is very familiar with the My El Cajon app, but for those watching on the internet, My El Cajon is our community engagement tool. It is an app that works on Apple and Android. And it's a place to get information quickly and easily. It also provides quantifiable metrics so that we know what those needs are and can properly staff and make sure that those needs are taken care of quickly and efficiently. Another interesting thing, we always talk about the impact on the community for My El Cajon. I think we also need to think about it both internally and externally. Yes, it's more efficient, a one-stop shop for our community members, but it's also critical in streamlining our processes, reducing double data entry, so each staff, their time is going farther and they're able to solve more problems for our citizens because of it. So I think that's something that makes My El Cajon special. The Pothole Challenge occurred in April of 2023. It started by a council priority for more citizen engagement, and so it started from you guys. Thank you. And what it was a call to action, promotion on social media, local news, even America-wide, but a promotion that said, hey, we've had a record amount of rains last year, and record amount of rains meant record amount of potholes. We want to take care of them, but we need to know where they are. So it was a call to action for our citizens. Tell us where those are, and we'll get them fixed. So the media was amazing. All of you participated in it, so thank you again. But we had national news. Every local station was out there, ride-alongs, interviews in station. You guys did an amazing job. Our city manager's office did an amazing job of getting the word out through our marketing and engagement manager. He did such an amazing job that we ended up with a year's worth of potholes that now needed to be filled in 5 days. So that gets to the other side of why the Pothole Challenge was special, is it really came down and showed about our efficiency in the back office that our citizens don't see. Our public works staff have iPads in their vehicles. They are learning about new incidents in real time, which is why the majority of our incidents are closed within 48 hours, which I don't know any city can touch that right now. Our public works ops staff does an amazing job, but part of that is they don't get their assignments in the morning and that's it. As things are coming up, they're handling them in the field. The other side of that is it was too much work for them to do themselves. And so many of the people in this audience, every single department had representatives that went out and helped fill those potholes. I had never filled one. There's me on that day. I had my little vest, and they were making sure I wasn't getting run over and that I was safe, and we were out there doing something. I remember one of the employees talking about how sore she was the next day, and I was really scared because I kind of went later in the week. So it was an amazing opportunity. I feel that I got to know the people from Public Works Operations at a deeper level. I was out in the truck spending multiple hours with them. It was a great experience. The other thing is, and this is a quote from Councilmember Ortiz when he was speaking, it really shows this is how good government works. You tell us what you need, and we're taking care of it. And if we don't have enough people to do it, we figure out how to do it. And I think that's a testament to the entire staff, not just staff, but elected officials, working staff, volunteers. We show up, and we show up for our community. And you felt good doing it. We were doing what that call to service that many of us that work in government experience. So a little bit about the Tyler Excellence Award. It was established to acknowledge clients who demonstrate leadership, innovation, and excellence in developing, deploying, and maintaining Tyler solutions in new ways, because our clients are a big part of why our solutions are so successful. So we won on 4 points of merit. We recorded a 500% increase in service requests since the MyCivic implementation. Yes, 500%. It's amazing how they're keeping up with it. They completed a year's worth of pothole repairs in 5 days. The breakdown of department silos as staff pitched in to help. And it showed the community the impact of making service requests. They saw that if they put something in, we will do something about it. So we received this award at the Tyler Conference in front of about 5,000 people. That's Chris Berg, Marketing and Engagement Manager, Director Dave Richards of Public Works Operations, 2 bigwigs from Tyler that I don't know their name. That's me. You can recognize the dress. And then we've got Aaron Jones, who's an ops manager over at the Public Works Yard. So we were attending the conference not just to learn how to run our Tyler software better, but also to celebrate this amazing accomplishment. So thank you for your time.
Before you run off, let me see if there's any questions or comments.
Great work, Sarah. Great work, everybody associated with it. Frank Carson is usually known for getting a lot of awards, so watch out. IT's coming for you. So, City, it seems like every other week we're getting a new award nationally. So, great work, Sarah, and the whole team.
Mr. Ortiz, I was going to comment about no, Frank did not get this award, so it's great to spread the love.
Yeah, the entire IT team is very proud of the work that we're doing. We love being innovative. We love having not only the freedom, but the encouragement to innovate, so thank you.
One of the great things about your software is it's intuitive. It thinks like people think. Mm-hmm. One of the most frustrating things we all experience is when we get a piece of software and, well, what do I got to click now? And now I just want to do this, is what we all say when we get to the software. And this is great software because within really 3 or 4 taps, you can submit graffiti, trash, pothole. Just the intuitive part is just so well done, and that makes everyone's job easier. And it's really a testament to the public how much they use it.
Yes.
Says how good of a software this is and worthy of an award. So great job.
Thank you.
Sarah, you're a lady of many talents, from IT, fixing my computer, and filling potholes.
Yeah, I do it all. All right, well.
Anyway, I just want to say thank you. I'm really proud to be associated with El Cajon, and it's because we're always doing really interesting and innovative things. For a relatively moderate-sized city, I feel like we really lead the way in so many areas. So thanks to you and your team and all the people that have worked to make this happen.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Because I like you, I see all those people in red shirts out there. You are welcome to stay for the entire council meeting. There's probably no more better bang for your entertainment dollar than to be at a council meeting. But if perchance you have other places you have to go, you will not offend me or the other council members if you take off. So thanks very much. All right, agenda changes. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council. All right. That brings us to consent items. Consent items are routine matters enacted by one motion according to the recommendation listed below with the concurrence of the City Council. A council member or a person in attendance may request discussion of a consent item at this time. Council members, do you wish to pull any of the consent items? Okay. Staff?
No, sir.
Angela, do we have any speaker cards for consent items?
No speaker card, sir.
I'll make a motion then to approve the consent items.
Second.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
That brings us to public comment. At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, City Council and Housing Authority members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Angela, do we have any speaker cards for public comment?
We only have one, sir, from Brenda Hammond.
Hello, Brenda. Welcome.
Hi. Hi, Graham, Mr. Mitchell. So this was great. The volunteers, that's awesome. I used to drive the veterans to their pool tournaments with their with their cars, so I get to drive the big Cadillacs and everything. Can you imagine all these drunk people in the back of a big Cadillac? No, we had fun. So, so that's why I'm glad I brought this dollar store.
Very nice.
And my concern, though, is when I was doing home health, I took care of a lot of veterans, and I did respite care for veterans that were taking care of their wives so that they could take off for breakfast or whatever. My concern here tonight is that I see some of these homeless outreach programs that are taking advantage of the veterans, so please be careful with that. The monies that they're collecting are going to a campaign re-election I don't agree with. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Graham. So having said all that, I love the concerts. God, it's so great. So I'm not going to crack. And this is what's left of my dress. But I have another one. So thank you for the concerts and for the fun. And thanks for always honoring the veterans. They're so important. I have family that's veterans and have lost veterans as well. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Brenda.
No other speakers, sir.
There are no excuse me. There are no written communications or public hearings on today's agenda. We have 2 administrative reports on today's agenda. Item 16 is regarding the 24-25 preliminary budget. I'll ask our finance director, Cajon, to please introduce this item. Hello, Clay.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor, distinguished members of the City Council. Very happy to be here today to present the preliminary annual budget for fiscal year 25. Waiting for the computer to catch up to me here. There we go. Sorry about the delay. Today's presentation will include a summary of the budget process, briefly touch on the status of the economy, provide a brief overview of the citywide budget. We'll go into some detail on the general fund, and then we'll address any questions and discussion that you have. I'll show this slide again at the conclusion of this presentation, but it's just to remind you that this is an informational item only. We are not requesting any action. Jumping right into the budget process, the fiscal year annual budget process usually starts with the 5-year business plan. This is our long-term projection work, try to get a good understanding of both where the city currently is as well as the direction we are heading. Based on the input there, the departments prepare their requests for the upcoming year. We will review, compile, and balance those requests, submit to the City Council for adoption, and this is for the budget that takes effect July 1st. We were just here with the 5-year business plan just a few weeks ago, so not a whole lot has changed on the economy since then. Do want to touch on a couple of little points, though, that we didn't talk about that point in time. Just prior to that meeting, the Bureau of Economic Analysis released the first quarter estimate for GDP. At the time, they were estimating first quarter GDP to grow at 1.6%. They just recently released their second estimate, and they have revised it to 1.3%. While it's still positive, and I suppose that's good, it's a revision in the wrong direction. Unemployment has softened over the last 12 months. It has dropped from 3.1% last year to 3.5%. And this is also a little bit higher in both California and locally. California unemployment is 4.8% and locally 4.1%. Housing is interesting, kind of a mixed bag. Housing starts is relatively flat over the last 12 months. Technically, it's down 0.6%. However, new home sales have dropped dramatically, dropped by 7.7% over the last 12 months. I think this is probably a combination of three factors. One, inventory always has an impact. However, also the continually increasing housing prices as well as mortgage rates, I think, are having an impact. And then lastly, inflation remains elevated above the 2% goal of the Federal Reserve. This is the cover of the fiscal year 25 preliminary budget. I heard her name mentioned in our opening presentation, but Autumn Rehberger, who volunteered for The Wall That Heals, also is our citywide budget coordinator and designed the cover. This event we felt was a pretty serious matter and kind of a big deal for the city of El Cajon, and we wanted to show it on the cover of the budget. We tried to do so in as classy and respectful way as possible, and I think she did an outstanding job with that. We are still trying to finish up the document itself. We're dotting our T's and crossing our I's and expect to have that ready for publication within the next couple of days. Once it is available, it will be on the city's website, elcajon.gov/budget. Overall, this is an approximate $268 million spending plan. The largest component of which is the general fund, with expenditures totaling $101 million. However, we also have $47 million programmed in our special revenue funds. These are funds that have unique funding sources and are restricted in purpose. We have $45.7 million programmed in capital project funds. I want to point out that these are governmental capital projects. Wastewater capital projects are included in the wastewater fund budget, which totals $49 million next year. Our sole debt service fund is $9.1 million. That, of course, is the debt service on our pension obligation bonds. And lastly, we have $15.7 million budgeted for our internal service funds. These are funds that service other funds of the city. People, as usual, constitute a huge part of our annual budget. This budget includes 422 full-time equivalent employees. As you can see, the largest component of which is the police department. The general fund has 86% of those positions in total, and public safety has 62 of the total. This table is a 10-year history of FTEs. Really want to point out the last 3 years we have virtually zero growth in overall positions. We have FTE totals of 421, 422, and 422 over the last 3 years. As we turn our attention to the general fund, before we start digging into FY25, wanted to check in again on our projected FY24 results. We are consistently and regularly updating our projections, and these numbers have moved a little bit since mid-year. We are currently projecting revenues at approximately $95 million against expenditures of approximately $97.8 million. This is slightly higher than we projected just a little bit ago. We started the year with approximately $62.2 million of fund balance and expect to end 24 with $59.4 million. As we shift our focus to FY25, want to bring us back to that mid-year 5-year projection, at which time we were starting to discuss a series of funding shortfalls that we were anticipating over the next few years. First of which was FY25. We were projecting a shortfall of $3.3 million. The budget we present here does include a $2.9 million use of general fund reserves. However, these are very specific purposes, $2 million of which is the continuation of the 10 overhire police officers in the police department, as well as 2 capital projects that the City Council supported funding from reserves last year that just will not reach completion by June 30th, and this is the mechanism to carry it forward. With that being said, that means our operating revenues and operating expenditures, excluding those items, are balanced. And we have done that through a series of short-term solutions, the most significant of which is a hiring slowdown that will continue to be in place at least at the beginning of FY25. These are unsustainable in the long run. However, we felt that it was necessary to take those actions at this time so we could be a little more deliberate with longer-term solutions. The first of which I expect we probably will start rolling out to the City Council, pulling the curtains back a little bit, maybe as early as the first quarter report this fall. The big highlight here for FY25, though, is we've managed to get to this point with no permanent reductions in staffing levels and no permanent reductions in services. With that being said, the hiring slowdown will affect it, but as I said, it's a temporary solution. Overall, the FY25 budget includes approximately $98.1 million of estimated revenues and expenditures of $101 million. That will bring our starting fund balance of $59.4 million to approximately $56.5 at fiscal year end. As we dig a little bit deeper into the details of the general fund, this pie chart shows the distribution of our revenue sources, the $98.1 million of general fund revenues. As you can see, the biggest chunks by far are the 2 sales tax categories. These 2 categories make up just a little shy of half of the general fund revenues. Please take special note of the red wedge there. That is Prop J sales tax at $13.2 million and approximately 13.5% of total general fund revenues. Property taxes and sales tax combined comprises approximately 75% of general fund revenues. This is roughly the same information submitted in tabulature form. I won't read the numbers to you. I do want to highlight the bottom line, however, that we are expecting revenues to grow from the estimated totals of $95 million in FY24 to $98.1 in FY25. This is a $3 million increase, or just over 3.2%. We're experiencing this growth, pretty ordinary growth in almost all categories, with the exception of the 2 sales tax categories. Growth in those 2 categories are less than 1%, and that really is the big story on the revenue front, is that sales tax, we continue to expect it to be relatively flat in FY25. Moving to the expenditure side, total expenditures are $101 million for FY25. The police department is just over half of that total, with the combined public safety departments approximately 3/4 of the total general fund spending. This is the detail supporting that pie chart. Here again on the bottom line, you can see that total expenditures are anticipated to grow FY24 budget to 25 budget by approximately $1 million or 1%. Most of this growth, or all of this growth, is really in the police department, which increased $1.8 million or 3.7%. Virtually every other department in the city, with the exception of the fire department, has a reduction supporting that I do want to point out that we do show a growth in the general government category. However, that is election expenses. This is an election year. We typically have those costs included in that year's budget. They're a little bit more than, well, right around $270,000. Were it not for that, they would be negative as well. Looking at that same expenditure total in a slightly different way, this is by category. As you can see, salary and benefit costs are approximately 70% of the total. However, there are some interesting discussions that can come out of a pie chart like this, because there's a lot of different ways to look at the same dollar. That same dollar can be categorized in a lot of different ways. In this particular chart, I'll point out the green slice, which is capital outlay and transfers. The vast majority of that is transfer, and that is the movement of money from the general fund to the debt service fund for pension obligation bonds. And that just as easily could be considered a personnel expense, and that would be a justifiable way of categorizing it. Another way of looking at the same information, however, is to pull out that UAL expense, which ordinarily is considered a component of salaries and benefits, along with the pension obligation transfer, and look at that as a separate component. And there's a little bit of wisdom in looking at it that way. One, the other three wedges, the red, the green, the blue, those are ongoing operating expenses of the general fund. That is the expense of providing a service right here, right now, to our active employees and the work they're doing. That purple wedge, the UAL and POB, is still paying the bill from previous year's services. This got me thinking a little bit more, and I played with this data another way, because I think it begs another point that's worth considering, and that's looking at it this way. That same purple wedge pulled out as red in this case, with all other expenses as operating expenses or other operating expenses. And I think this is important because I think as we begin to discuss some of the potential funding shortfalls we see in the upcoming years, as well as the sunsetting of the Prop J sales tax measure, I think we kind of had let a false narrative escape a little bit that we need to find a way of replacing $13.2 million of revenue out of $101 million. But that's a little misleading because 17 million of that we're kind of hands off and we have to pay no matter what anyways, that UAL payment and the POB payment. So really when we're talking about taking that $13.2 million hit, it's out of $83.8 million, which is a much smaller pie. All right, shifting from the general fund and looking forward a little bit, we will be here again at our very next council meeting to present the rest of the budget. We'll start with updates and changes from today's meeting. We'll also present information regarding the wastewater fund, other city funds, capital projects, and we will seek adoption of the FY25 budget. But that's not all we have going on that's budget related. As you may have heard, we have a series of town hall meetings. These are educational forums addressing the Prop J safety sales tax measure, not safety sales tax measure, sales tax measure that will be sunsetting in the upcoming couple of years. These forums are to help the public understand what we are using this funding for and what's in jeopardy if this sales tax measure is not replaced and is allowed to sunset. We also are soliciting input through an interactive budget activity. This flyer is available through a number of social media outlets as well as the city's website, elcajon.gov. First of which is this Thursday night, 6 p.m. at Bostonia Recreation Center. I'll conclude my presentation with the recommended action, which is simply to receive information on the FY25 budget. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Clay. Let me see who has questions first. Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Clay. Let's go back to the slide that was, they don't have numbers on them. Let's see. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There. Okay. So police and fire are 73%. The other wedges, the purple, the aqua, the orange, and the green, those four wedges total $28 million. So if we don't cut anything in fire, if we don't cut anything in police, but if we have to cut $13 million, it would come out of that $28 million. We'd have to cut all those departments in half. Public Works would be cut in half. All the repairs to streets, cut in half. Recreational opportunities for kids after school, cut in half. General government, cut in half. People to help respond to permits and requests, cut in half if we keep our commitment to public safety. So that's just kind of an observation. The impact of if we don't cut public safety, then we're just going to slash everything else, cut in half, cut in half. And I don't know that you can do that without just really decimating services to the public. So that's an issue. I guess I'll just go on with her comment at this point, if it's okay.
Can I comment on that too?
Yeah.
And, we present a budget by department, and remember, fire and police are not the only public safety departments. And in fact, you could make the argument that IT is a public safety department, that finance is a public safety department, that HR, because without those departments, we don't provide public safety. So if you were to slash the IT department, we would no longer have computers in the police vehicles, right? So it is very integrated. And so, Mr. Goebel, to your point, if you were to slash those things with the hope of sort of protecting public safety, we would have failed because public safety will be impacted. That becomes the big challenge.
And we're facing a sewer collapse on, I think it's Valentine right now. Cut in half the response time or the money available to make that fix, which is going to be expensive. And that, how do we serve the public with a sewer collapse?
Yeah.
That's a big deal. Every agency is facing this, not just El Cajon. The other agencies I'm involved with, MTS, the starting wage for a driver pre-pandemic was $15.23 an hour. Today, 5 years later, it's over $23 an hour. It's because they're having a hard time attracting drivers. We're still not back to pre-pandemic levels. The public sector simply is competing for labor, just the same way the private sector is. It's a silver tsunami, and now all of a sudden everybody's competing with a short amount of a number of people. And what we're seeing sometimes is that the government sector becomes the training ground for engineers, for construction people, and then they get their training and their skills, and they jump for the money in the private sector. So the answer isn't just to stop pay raises among government employees. We have to compete for talent, and we have a city to run, the things that has to be going as well. So I'm very sympathetic to what it costs to run a government. This is not fluff. This is a sewer collapse. This is addressing encampments. This is addressing fire, to have a Class 1 agency that it is already in need of another engine. We're pretty lean as it is because we don't benefit from a lot of the property tax revenue some of the more coastal cities get. So I think you're doing a great job with what we get. And we sure appreciate the people's contribution in the Prop J.
Anybody else for Clay? All right. Clay, thanks very much.
My pleasure.
Angela, any public comments on this?
We have no card, sir.
All right. I'll bring it back to the City Council. We're just looking for acceptance of the report.
Yeah, move to receive the report.
Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Item 17 is on the City Council's meeting schedule, and I'll ask the City Manager to tell us about this item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Typically, the city cancels the second meeting of August pending no item. So staff would recommend that we continue that tradition. Of course, if there are necessary items to bring forward to the council, we would reestablish the council meeting, but staff would recommend at this moment to cancel the August 27th council meeting.
All right. Any speaker cards on this item?
No speaker cards, sir.
I'd like to make the motion to approve. Please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
There are no commissioner reports on today's agenda. Item 18 is my activities and is as reported. Now we're at the activities of council members. Councilmember Goebel.
As reported.
Councilmember Kendrick.
I have one addition, and that's I attended the Metro Wastewater JPA meeting on Thursday, June 6th.
Thank you. Councilmember Mitchell.
As reported.
Deputy Mayor Ortiz.
As reported with one addition, I attended the East County Economic Development Council's Gillespie Field Committee meeting this morning.
There are no joint councilmember reports, general information items, first or second readings of ordinances, and no closed session on today's agenda. So this brings us to adjournment. The regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 11th day of June 2024, is adjourned till Tuesday, June 25th, 2024 at 3:00 p.m. Thank you very much.